Welcome back to the Expert League, everyone. My name is Cindy Yu. I'm the National Welfare Manager here at Outside the Locker Room. Each and every week, we interview experts from all different specialty areas to gain some understanding and insight into how we can maintain our mental health and well-being during this COVID-19 time. Today, I have with me Jackie Frangeskakis from Melbourne. Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Guys, good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. Jackie is a nutrition and fitness specialist with a multitude of qualifications and accolades, such as a master's in prosthetics and orthotics, as well as a certificate 3 and 4 in fitness. And she's currently completing her bachelor's in nutritional and dietetic medicine. So a really qualified and knowledgeable person here with us today. We really appreciate you joining us here, Jackie.
Happy to be here. Very, very happy.
Yeah. And I'm sure we're all really, really eager to hear some of your tips about how we can stay active and healthy during this isolation period. But before we get into it, can you give us a little bit of the background of your professional background and how you got into nutrition and fitness?
Sure. So I always knew I loved the human body. It was like my thing from like a little kid. Like I loved ER and RPA as TV shows, and I was a little kid, just always loved it. So I knew that would be my avenue for sure. Through year 12, I was like, I don't know if I can probably put the effort in to get into medicine, being, classic 18-year-old. So I sort of looked at avenues that were close to medicine, like biomedicine, and I fell into prosthetics and orthotics and went to the open day, loved it. Went there and studied it, did my 4-year degree. Mind you, the whole time I was doing it, I kind of wasn't sure that I loved it then, like once I actually started it. But I loved parts of it. So I eventually graduated, just didn't have that urge, didn't like want to go out and get a job as much as everyone else did and all of that stuff. And I was kind of in this awkward limbo where I was like, what do I do? I actually got really upset about it at one stage. I remember crying to my dad being like, what am I doing? Because I ended up working in retail. It was in a health sort of field in retail, but I was like, this isn't where I wanted to be. Like it wasn't on my plan. Like, what am I doing? I knew I always loved sport and fitness. It's always been a thing. Always like grew up playing netball, loved my footy, like loved it. And then I was like, and I loved fitness too. I'd actually, once I was 18, once I left high school, I actually ended up losing about 20 kilos.
Wow.
So I'm 5'2". You can't see me here now. So I'm tiny, but I was about 80 kilos. So I got down to like, 58, 60 kilos and have just kept it off since then. And I thought, why not take that fitness and that sport aspect and put it into work and go and do my PT course. So I did, worked in retail and PT, and then that was December, 2017. And then by that March, I ended up being full-time PT. So it sort of skyrocketed. It went really quickly, really well. I started off with a couple of girlfriends, and then it ended up just through social media and word of mouth. It ended up growing really well. Then about a year later, after especially my own journey, I loved nutrition. I'm just a real like geeky science nerd that way. Absolutely loved nutrition. So then I was like, well, why not go back to uni? I was umming and ahhing, and I was like, no, you can do it. You'll be fine. I had the flexibility with my own work, being my own boss. So then I just went through, I'm now in my final year of nutrition. Hopefully we'll get it done this year. With a few other projects on the side, I'm not sure, but it should be finished this year, if not early next year anyway. And I love it. Like I found myself researching stuff in my own spare time, and I was like, why aren't I studying this? Like I'm a stickler for getting the degree behind me, if you can tell. I just believe in being qualified, especially when it comes to your health. I think that's really important. So I was like, may as well go and do this if I'm going to be teaching it to my clients anyway. So let's have the education behind me and the qualification, and then I can be legit about everything as well.
Amazing. Yeah, it's great that you've got that scientific background in your work as well. And yeah, I'm sure your clients are getting a lot out of working with you. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about the people you usually work with?
I've actually got a huge variety now. So number one, I'm a strength and conditioning coach at Norwood Senior Football Club. So they're an EFL Premier League club. So I work with the men there. They're great. They've given me a whole new aspect to my training as well. And I sort of delve into their nutrition too, as well as obviously all their strength conditioning and rehab stuff.
Yeah, amazing.
So then I've got anywhere from 18 to maybe 65, I think is my oldest client now. I did have an 80-year-old. Unfortunately, he did pass away recently. But he was a legend. He was coming into the gym, you know, in his 80s and just smashing some weights. So that was great.
Too old.
Yeah. I have sort of probably a 50-50 split between men and women.
Okay.
I definitely have more women for nutrition clients, which I find really interesting. I think there's some aspects there that could change too, and the stigma behind men and what they put in their body, and sort of their body's ability to burn through food is quite different to women. Yeah, so I've really got a huge variety.
Yeah, sounds like it for sure.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. And you have spoken in the past about this kind of sweet spot and reaching this sweet spot. Can you tell us what that means?
Yeah, so look, when it comes to not just mental health, but life, I think we're kind of on a continuum. The more I think about it, it's probably more like a circle, because I think some things overlap. That, you know, one end or one point of the circle, we can have that really anxious state where we're sort of overdriven and really worried about everything. Yeah. And then we've got that sort of other end where it's that depressive state. And I think those two can definitely overlap. But where, you know, people can be really down about certain things behind closed doors or whatever it might be. And then I think at any one time we're on this spectrum, and we have in between all of that, this sweet spot, this happy spot, where our sort of external and internal factors in our life push us to be in that sweet spot, that happiness and that nice balance. Because it, you know, at one point you might shift a little bit into there and have this sort of anxious moment, and then you can pull yourself back in. And what is it that drove you to be anxious or depressed, and what is it that got you out? And I think finding that balance between all of those to get you into that sweet spot is sort of what I try to work with my clients, and making themselves realize, where are we? It's okay not to be stagnant. You know, if you've got depression, you're not a depressed person all the time. You can be happy too. And if you've got anxiety, same thing as well. And you can have both. And it's just about finding, the happiness spot, the sweet spot where you sit really well and you feel really comfortable, and what factors in your life drive you to sit there.
Yeah, absolutely. You bring up a really great point about it being a balance, and, you know, you're not always going to be in that spot, but it's about working back towards that. And I know you talk about incorporating nutrition and fitness to get you to that sweet spot. Can you tell us why it's so important to have nutrition and exercise as you know, for our mental well-being?
Yeah, so here's where I could, you know, go on forever, but we'll try and put it all in one. Look, really, how long's a piece of string? Like, honestly, there is endless ways that food and nutrition have that effect on you as a person, and you and you with your mental health. I think people underestimate the power of food. I think food has become so accessible to us these days. You know, you can run down to any Coles, Aldi, Woolies, you can go to a fast food place, whatever it is, so quickly. And we don't have to hunt for our food and search our food anymore, that we lose its value. That I think people are really disconnected from what food can do. You know, I've had clients come to me and they've had some kind of issue, let's say even just a skin issue, and they've had someone tell them, oh, it's got nothing to do with what you're eating. Well, it has everything to do with it. You know, what you put into your body is your body's fuel. It is simple as that. Everything that you do with your body has a biochemical effect. Like, if we talk about the science, everything you put in, all the external factors, all the environmental factors, stress factors, they all have a response inside of us at a biological level. And I think people underestimate that. You know, I've seen people deprive themselves of food and everything goes haywire. I've seen people overeat in the wrong things and everything goes haywire. And I've seen people who eat the right things and they're fantastic. And I can personally say I've been there. You know, I've been through the overweight thing. I I've run a marathon. I've done a bodybuilding comp, all really different ways to fuel your body through doing those things. And I've seen what deprivation in particular can really do. And I think that's a killer. One pathway that I really like to explain, one of billions of biochemical pathways, is sort of your serotonin, which is essentially your happy hormone, versus your energy pathway. I think this sort of puts things into perspective really nicely. So you eat food and that gets broken down, you know, into proteins, carbs and fats. And at the end of the day, they all funnel down and they can help us to make our energy. Now, to get there, to get through all these steps to funnel down to make our energy, we need micronutrients. So all the little guys, all the vitamins and minerals, things like B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, magnesium, lipoic acid, all of that, they drive these energy pathways. Mm-hmm. Now, at any one point, your body wants to survive. Your body is there to live. If we're not surviving, we're not here. Simple as that. So that becomes a priority, that energy pathway. So remember that. Now that's one thing. Now, if we look at another pathway in the body is our serotonin pathway. So we have a chemical called tryptophan, which we eat through our food. That then converts into serotonin, which is our happy hormone that makes us happy. And then that converts into melatonin as well, which is the guy that helps us sleep. Now, those little cofactors, again, that help those processes occur are things like B5, B6, magnesium, all of those things as well. So if you've got those things helping the serotonin pathway, the happy pathway, but you've also got them helping the energy pathway, if at any one time you're not fueling yourself right or you're depriving yourself, your body prioritizes those nutrients. So it goes, hey, I'm only getting a really minimal amount of these micronutrients. I need to make energy. So I'm going to send the bulk of them there. It's like going into an emergency room and getting triaged. So your body chooses that energy pathway because remember, at any one point we're wanting to survive.
Yeah.
Then what happens is that serotonin pathway gets neglected. So we cannot produce as much because all of our nutrients that we are getting, which is really minimal, go to the energy rather than making us happy because you don't need to be happy to survive. That is one really I hope I can simplify that one really simple pathway, one of many.
Yeah, absolutely.
That go on the body.
Such complex machines, aren't they? And such an efficient machine. And sometimes we forget that our body likes to be efficient.
Exactly. And, it doesn't take much to deprive our body of certain things. I know plenty of people, myself included, if you go out and have a big night and eat a lot of bad food and drink alcohol, you can feel really crappy the next day. Really crappy. And look, there's more biochemical pathways that I could go on and explain there, but everyone knows that feeling, right? Yeah. That is a simple fact of, well, if that can cause that, imagine what good stuff can also do. Yeah. It's just hard because people don't realize what the good stuff is doing because they're just sort of plodding along in this happy life. But when something bad happens is when we sort of switch on and be like, oh, that big night out made me feel like shit. It's sort of hard that I think we really forget that power of food. Everyone's experienced hunger before. That is a power of food. You get hungry, you are going to be a little bit cranky. Simple things like really simplify it, and that directly affects your mood as well. Yeah.
Thank you for giving us such great insight into that. The way you've explained it, I think that would have helped a lot of people really understand, the metabolic pathways and the different systems in our body. I guess, we're going through a really different time at the moment, quite a challenging time. What do you think would be some of the biggest challenges out there for individuals at the moment?
I think number one is this whole distancing thing. I think it's really tough. A Zoom call is great and all of that, but it's just not the same as seeing a mate. And even, the simple hug and a kiss of a friend, a handshake, that touch is huge.
Yeah, human touch.
Human touch is massive. So I think that's a real big struggle, and that's something that we've just got to learn to adapt to, which I think is another thing, is the ability to adapt. And within that, before we adapt, I think we need to sort of allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling. Allow yourself to feel, you might feel sad, you might feel angry, you might feel, regret that you didn't set yourself up better for something like this, but how could you, But allow yourself to feel those feels, but then allow yourself to overcome them. I've experienced that. This is how I'm feeling. Have some self-reflection, some internal dialogue, and go, what can I do about it? What is in my control? And a lot of people, what you eat and how you move your body or what you do with your body every day has a huge effect, and it's something that you can control. And it's something that I find that tends to be a really core part to people, that if they let that slip, sort of everything else can dry down. And sometimes that might be caused by something, and then they let that slip after. But once they get back into the healthy eating and they can move their body and they get that endorphins release and they're fueling those nutrients, then they start to really pick back up again. So focusing on what you can control is huge right now.
Yeah,
Um,
really great advice.
yeah, not trying to get out all the fuzz in your head and really think, okay, what can I do? This is how I'm feeling. I've acknowledged it. Let's move on and let's be proactive and let's do something about it now, because only you've got that power. You can have friends, and friends are great and they're necessary, but at the end of the day, you need to draw yourself out of there, and if you need to engage your friends, do so and do whatever it is that makes you happy, really.
Yeah. And you make a really good point about acknowledging it, you know, not just trying to push it away, but acknowledging it and then just focusing on what you do have control over. And if that means bringing in your friends and family, that's okay.
Yeah.
But really try and gaining back that control.
Definitely, 100%.
So you've given some really, really practical tips and insights and advice already. Do you have any other kind of tips that people could do at home, whether it be exercise or how to eat well during this time?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in as sexy as it might not be and as marketed as it might not be, I'm a big believer in the basics. You know, when it comes to food, simply reflect, how much fruit have you eaten today? Have you had a piece of fruit yet? Have you had any vegetables today? Simple things like that, to have some self-reflection and go, oh, I feel really lethargic. Maybe I need to eat because I haven't actually eaten breakfast yet. I know lots of people's eating habits have been thrown out of whack now because a lot of people are at home and their timetables are different.
Yeah.
You know, just really simplifying it. Have I had vegetables? Have I had some fruit? Because they're the key to us being healthy. If you need to, write out a plan. If you're working from home and you've got a schedule and let's say a Google Calendar, prioritize your meals, you know, prioritize your exercise, schedule it in. If that's what makes you feel good, then do that. If that means that you stick to it because it's in your schedule, then do that. Find whatever it is that works for you. And the biggest thing that I can say is try and make it a priority, because we all know how good it is for us. People go, oh, but work's so important. Well, you're not going to be so productive if you're feeling crap.
Yeah.
You know, make yourself feel good, fill your cup first, because then you can give so much more to whatever else it might be in your life that needs you in it.
Absolutely.
As for movement, keep it simple. No one's going to be smashing any strength goals and all that. You know, I'm pretty strong, I like to think. I've smashed some real good goals in my strength, but right now in terms of access to equipment, and I just don't really feel like, you know, doing a 110 kilo deadlift right now.
Yeah.
So do whatever it is, you know, set yourself a 10,000 step goal. Jump on YouTube and type in 15-minute HIIT workout at home and you'll find stacks of stuff. It doesn't have to be your best workout. It doesn't have to be your highest strength goal. Just keep moving, because it doesn't take much to release those endorphins.
Yeah.
And that in itself will do wonders for you. Just move in some way. If it's raining outside, grab a skipping rope and skip for 10 minutes. If you don't have a skipping rope, do high knees on the spot. You know, do some stretching, do some yoga, whatever it is that day. It's also kind of a chance to try something different. You know, all those gym junkies, like I'm probably one myself, try something that's out of your comfort zone that you're not used to doing. I made my partner, who does Olympic lifting, do like a HIIT session with me. And so he does like 3-4 rep things. And then he was out there doing like 45 seconds of burpees. He died, but he did it, and he did well. He felt great after it. So yeah, simplify it. Really just get back to basics. Don't think it has to be something significant and extravagant and you've got to kick your PBs. Just keep it simple. Focus on fruit and vegetables. Prioritize it because it is important, and fill your own cup.
Yeah, absolutely. Really great, practical, simple, going back to the basic advice. I really like that frame of working with what you got. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, focus on what you can do and adapt to this, you know, environment. Exactly. It is different and we all acknowledge that it's different. So finding different ways to try and still move your body and still eat well.
Yeah, definitely. Like we said before, focus on what you can control. Yeah. And, you know, if you dwell on what you don't have with anything in life out of this COVID situation, if you focus on what you don't have, you're going to go nuts.
Yeah.
You've got to focus on what you've got, how you can use it, and what's going to make you happy while doing all of that.
Absolutely. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for all of your advice and practical tips. I'm sure everyone out there has gotten a lot out of this conversation. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Best way I'm probably most active on is my Instagram, which is at Adaptive Health and Performance. A nice long handle for you there. Yeah, send me a message, happy to chat, whatever it might be. Send me a comment. If you want to see something, I'm happy to do it. I do these little whiteboard chats every now and then. Awesome. From what people have requested, where we do little sort of sciencey, geeky things, but I love it. And I think that people get a lot out of it. So if there's anything you want to hear or see, just send me a message, jump on my Instagram, give me a follow, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll definitely be jumping on for sure.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and yeah, stay well, stay safe, and I'm sure you're keeping active like everyone else.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, guys. See ya.